Welcome to Map It Out, helping your child learn with graphic organizers. My name is Emily. I'm a special education instructional coach at Sequoia Grove Charter Alliance, and I'm here to walk you through this workshop. The purpose of today's workshop is to teach what graphic organizers are and how they support comprehension, organization, and independent work. Also, I'll show you when and how to use different types of graphic organizers across subjects. For today's workshop, we'll start with understanding graphic organizers. We'll talk about types of graphic organizers, how and when to use graphic organizers, creating and using graphic organizers, and tips and best practices. Understanding graphic organizers, what they are and why they work. What are graphic organizers? Graphic organizers are visual tools that help organize ideas. Graphic organizers make thinking visible. And graphic organizers are used across subjects such as ELA, math, science, and so on. Why do graphic organizers work? They support. Graphic organizers reinforce comprehension and memory. They simplify. Graphic organizers break down complex tasks. They map. Graphic organizers help students plan and express ideas. And finally, they assist. Graphic organizers are especially useful for students with IEPs and executive functioning needs. Now getting into the bulk of the presentation, we're going to be talking about types of graphic organizers. The types of graphic organizers we'll be covering today are the concept web, brainstorming, the T-chart, the Venn diagram, the KWL chart, the flow chart, the problem solution chart, and finally the story map. Starting with the concept web brainstorming graphic organizer. The concept web graphic organizer helps to visualize and understand relationship among concepts. They use circles or boxes and arrows to show relationships. And finally, the arrows are labeled with words that describe the relationships. Some of the benefits of the concept web brainstorming graphic organizers are understanding complex topics, maybe breaking down complex topics into smaller, manageable parts. The concept web graphic organizer also helps with brainstorming, helping to organize thoughts and generate new ideas. Concept web graphic organizers are also helpful to use for studying and revision. They're excellent study tools, summarizing important information visually for easier recall. And finally, concept web graphic organizers are good for planning writing tasks. They help plan essays or reports by clearly outlining all key points and their relationships. Some ways of using the concept web graphic organizer. In biology, you might map out photosynthesis. In history, you could create a web for the American Revolution, branching out to causes, key figures, major battles, and outcomes. In literature, you could use a graphic organizer to analyze a novel by putting the main character or theme in the center and exploring related characters, settings, conflicts, and symbols. In science, you could use the concept web graphic organizer to define a concept like ecosystem. Maybe list examples, describe characteristics, and identify related concepts like food web or habitat. Here are some examples of concept web or brainstorming graphic organizers. The next type of graphic organizer is the T-chart. The T-chart graphic organizer is a two-column table used to contrast information. Topics can include anything that can be cleanly divided into two opposing views. Examples include evaluating pros and cons of a decision, facts versus opinions, maybe advantages and disadvantages, or strengths and weaknesses. Some of the benefits of the T-chart graphic organizer are: they're easy to create. All you need are 2 columns to organize your ideas and data. They're easy to understand. It's easy to see the similarities and differences between 2 ideas or data sets. T-chart graphic organizers help in organizing information. They make it easier to identify patterns and trends. And finally, T-chart graphic organizers help enhance critical thinking. They help to promote a deeper understanding of the topic being discussed. Some ideas for using the T-chart graphic organizer may be to compare and contrast. You can take 2 different books, characters, or historical events. Maybe compare and contrast the text version versus the movie version of a story. Or similarities versus differences between 2 items. You could also use the T-chart graphic organizer to analyze and evaluate maybe the pros and cons for decisions like moving or changing careers, facts versus opinions when analyzing a news article or text, strength versus weaknesses for project planning, or causes and effects, understanding events in history or science. Here are a couple examples of the T-chart graphic organizer. The next type of graphic organizer is the Venn diagram. The Venn diagram graphic organizer uses overlapping circles or other shapes to illustrate the relationships between 2 or more sets of items. Venn diagram graphic organizers graphically organize ideas, highlighting how the items are similar and different. They're widely used in mathematics, statistics, logic, teaching, linguistics, computer science, and business. Some of the benefits of the Venn diagram graphic organizer are: they visually organize information. It makes it easy to see the relationship between sets of items such as commonalities and differences. They enhance critical thinking. They encourage deeper thinking, logical reasoning, and pattern recognition skills as you determine where items belong and why. Finally, Venn diagram graphic organizers aid memory and retention. They boost engagement and help people retain information. Some ways of using the Venn diagram graphic organizer. Maybe in math you use the Venn diagram graphic organizer to organize math vocabulary. Or in reading you use a Venn diagram to analyze nonfiction text with a compare and contrast structure or compare prefixes and suffixes. Or in history you compare and contrast historical events, figures, or civilizations. In literature, maybe compare and contrast characters, settings, themes, or author styles in 2 books. Or for science, compare and contrast different animal types, plant life, or scientific concepts like mammals versus reptiles. Here are a couple examples of Venn diagram graphic organizers. Next up, we have the KWL chart. The KWL chart graphic organizer focuses on what you know about a topic, what you want to know, and what you have already learned in the end. They're often used to open and close a lesson by helping students access background knowledge, formulate questions, and document information learned. They allow teachers to create projects and assignments that the students will enjoy. Some of the benefits of the KWL chart are: first, they activate prior knowledge. KWL charts help connect new information to what students already know. KWL chart graphic organizers set purpose and goals. They encourage curiosity by having students ask their own questions and define learning objectives. And finally, KWL charts track progress and gaps. They show teachers where learning gaps exist and help students see their own growth. Some ways of using the KWL chart graphic organizer might be maybe in math, when you're introducing multiplication. For the know, the K, you know addition. For what you want to know, maybe it's repeated addition, tables. And finally in the N, the L, what you learned, multiplication facts and strategies. Or maybe in reading comprehension, students list initial thoughts and questions, then update the chart as they read to answer the questions. Or in science, students list what they know, rainfall, what they want to know, how clouds form, and later fill in what they learn, condensation, evaporation. Or finally, in history and social studies, maybe using a KWL chart graphic organizer for analyzing primary sources, like civil rights photos. Students list what they know, want to know about Jim Crow, then detail what they learned from the sources. Here are a couple more examples of a KWL chart graphic organizer. Next up, we have the flowchart graphic organizer. The flowchart graphic organizer visually represents steps of a process, system, or workflow in a sequential order. Flowchart graphic organizers make complex processes easier to understand. They're often used to illustrate different processes, such as instructions for how to do something, life cycles of a plant or animal, or showing where something comes from. Some of the benefits of the flowchart graphic organizer are: they improve communication. They simplify complex processes, making logic understandable for everyone. They encourage a logarithmic thinking. They teach logical, sequential thinking, essential for coding and math. Flowchart graphic organizers enhance critical thinking. They push kids to analyze cause and effect and relationships between steps. And finally, flowchart graphic organizers improve mental dexterity. They develop mental agility and the ability to form associations by using flowchart graphic organizers. Some ideas for using the flowchart graphic organizer are: literacy in writing. Maybe using flowchart graphic organizers for story plots, beginning, middle, and end, problem and solution, or steps to write a story or poem, or a character's journey or choices. In math, you can utilize the flowchart graphic organizer for solving multi-step math problems, or steps in a math operation. For science, you could use a flowchart graphic organizer for life cycles, such as frog and butterfly, or maybe the steps for a science experiment, the hypothesis, test, and observation, or how a plant grows. For social studies, maybe timelines of historical events, or cause and effect, maybe an invention and its impact, or even decision-making processes, like how a bill becomes a law. Here are a couple examples of flowchart graphic organizers. Next up, we have problem and solution chart. Problem and solution chart graphic organizers are used to identify a problem and its proposed solutions. Problem solution chart graphic organizers involve writing the essence of the problem, then suggesting steps to resolve it, and finding a solution. Problem solution chart graphic organizers make it easy to organize relevant information into an easily persuadable and understandable form. Some of the benefits of the problem and solution chart graphic organizer are: they enhance critical thinking. They support understanding of cause and effect relationships and logical flow, allowing deeper analysis of ideas. They support diverse learners. They provide visual scaffolding and reduce cognitive load. And finally, they improve writing and summarization. Problem and solution chart graphic organizers create a strong foundation for summarizing text or developing alternative solutions. Here are some more examples of problem and solution chart graphic organizers. Some ways of using problem and solution chart graphic organizers are: maybe in reading for story comprehension. After reading Charlotte's Web, identify Wilbur's problem being sold and Charlotte's solution, writing some pig. Or maybe in character analysis with the Three Little Pigs, map the wolf's problem, the house blowing down, and the pig's solution, building stronger homes. Or in a nonfiction text, for articles on conservation, maybe map the problem, endangered species, and the solution, habitats and breeding programs. Or maybe in math, utilizing the problem solution graphic organizer for solving word problems. For Mary has 5 apples and gives 2 to John, how many are left? Map out what the problem is, 5 apples and 2 gone, and the solution involves subtraction. Or in multi-step problems, use it to break down complex problems into smaller parts, like planning a party budget. Finally, we'll cover the Story Map Graphic Organizer. The Story Map Graphic Organizer helps students learn the elements of a book or story. Story Map Graphic Organizers help students identify a story's characters, plot, setting, problem, and solution. A simple story map graphic organizer might focus on the beginning, middle, and end, while sophisticated graphic organizers focus on complex elements like plot, character development, and theme. Some of the benefits of the Story Map Graphic Organizer are: they help with visual learning. They help students visualize information for better recall. Story Map Graphic Organizers help with comprehension. They support understanding for story structure and relationships between parts. Story Map Graphic Organizers also aid in writing. Students can use story maps to plan their own creative writing, ensuring all necessary components like character development and plot events are included and organized logically. Some ways of using the Story Map Graphic Organizer are: maybe in a fairy tale, you can map out characters, setting, problem, solution, and theme. Or in novels, you can track plot elements like rising action, climax, resolution. Or identifying key details, maybe focusing on who, what, when, where, why, how, for any text to ensure understanding. And finally, sequencing events, using boxes and arrows to show the order of events from beginning to end. Here are a couple more examples of Story Map Graphic Organizers. Take this moment to think, which graphic organizer would be easiest to try at home first and why? How and when to use graphic organizers. In reading, maybe listing main idea and details or character comparison. Or in writing, using a graphic organizer to plan paragraphs or brainstorming. Or in math, problem-solving steps or sorting math vocabulary. Or science, listing the cause and effect or life cycles. And finally, social studies, maybe listing timelines or comparison of cultures. Using graphic organizers. First, start with one purpose. Pick one goal, such as summarizing, planning, writing, comparing ideas. Then keep the organizer simple and consistent at first. Don't try to overdo it. Next, model the process. Fill out the first section together. Think aloud, I'm putting this here because, to show the reasoning. Number 3, use visual supports. Maybe color code sections for clarity, or add icons, drawings, or emojis. Visual supports are especially useful for younger learners and students with IEPs. After that, teach when to use them. Before learning, activate prior knowledge using the KWL chart. Or during learning, take notes, track steps, or map ideas. After learning, summarize or review. Number 5, break tasks into steps. Maybe pre-fill parts of the organizer to reduce overwhelm. Or provide sentence starters or choices for hesitant writers. Number 6, keep it accessible. Print organizers or keep them open on screen during lessons. Maybe save completed graphic organizers in a folder for study review. Number 7, encourage student choice. Let students pick the organizer shape or format. Choice increases ownership and motivation. Number 8, reuse and revisit. Use the same graphic organizer weekly so students learn the routine. Refer back to previous organizers to build connections. Creating and using graphic organizers. How to create graphic organizers. The 2 main ways that I recommend creating graphic organizers would be using Google Slides or Canva. Canva is a program that Sequoia Grove Charter Alliance students have access through their school email. In Google Slides, you can create Venn diagrams, T-charts, KWL charts, cause and effects, spider web maps or concept webs, flow charts, story elements, main idea, detailed charts, 5 Ws, and H, and timelines. Here's an example of the concept web graphic organizer created on Google Slides. As you can see, all parts of the graphic organizer are editable. You can pick the color. You can pick the shape. You can type in the boxes. You can create line shapes. You can create other shapes. These are all things that you can move. And the next example is a T-chart graphic organizer. These are just 2 lines and text boxes. The pros and cons of eating out for dinner. In the Venn diagram example, we have 2 circles and they meet in the middle. Super simple to make. And finally, the KWL. You can see it's lines, text boxes, and maybe colors to help sort ideas. At Sequoia Grove Charter Alliance, our schools have access to Canva via our student accounts. There are also free graphic organizer resources on the following websites: worksheetsworks.com, easyteacherworksheets.com, freeology.com, and edrawsoft.com. Some tips are: keep it simple, pre-fill parts for support, add visuals, icons, and colors, and provide sentence starters. Best practices are: start small. Start with one graphic organizer at a time. Provide choice. Allow child choice when creating the graphic organizer. Model. Model how to complete the graphic organizer. And finally, application. Apply to real-life assignments regularly. Thanks so much for watching this presentation.